Hola to any Kamala Shopadele Pashidele Sichukin any the Drengachu Chatin that do bake any Lamchor in Chintawa, but it's in a moment to the Marchia.
I want to welcome everyone. Greetings, good morning. We'll continue on with our instructions on the precious garland of the Supreme Path.
We do any Tatambotilla Ungachu, music chude, Haja Chimbo, Haja Salab Chimbo, any Haja Juba, any Manyamba. Tatini to Johnny Catama the Bay of which had you written in the day Yaboji, young the Mayon said, so Kulung Sony, who you to Johnny, you should uncle Tony, who you to Johnny, and the Kulong Yaboji Tammy Junan Halls.
So our main subject is something that's very sacred, very blessed, the lineage that's undeclined, and so it's excellent in all ways. And so whether that will be fruitful for us depends upon the motivation, the intention that we set.
Layang Jutang Martin Drongo Kagyu Juba de la, and the Lamal Mogushi, Lamala Sobatamne, Lome Mugu Konase, Anil Muguti top deck, and the Lame to Jesus Senne. Oh, the Richard Lambda looks or Chadi, the day to Johnny Mahake, don't show Mugu Chapugoni, any Lamala Sobataki, any Chiranzoka at Yamde, and it gives you Marbaloza, Milarepa, Gampopa, Gampopa, Tanga, Zavala Jiba, Samalani, and in around to Lord Chusen, Lamden, Lam Trupas, and Trupa Shisenchar. Any Haji Pun Juba, Gipsu Chirang Tavras in Yellow, Sumbanaji, and Islam Naro Jis, so what up was.
So in our Kagyu tradition, there's great emphasis on devotion and gratitude towards the lamas, and it's through solely this attitude of great faith that the Guru is Buddha, and great gratitude towards them. In Tibetan, Mugu, faith and devotion, that we receive the blessings for our practice. And so I will be making a prayer to the lineage gurus with very intense devotion. And I ask you to do the same towards all of the gurus of the lineage of translator Marpa, Milarepa, Gampopa, the Karmapas, up to my root guru, with the strong aspiration that my own mind and minds of all beings may turn towards the Dharma, that Dharma may become the path, that the path be free of obstructions, and that delusion arise as innate wisdom.
If you Chirang Tavras in Yellow, stay at the Nanji.
So please bless me to become like you.
I want to see how many people today show up there. Because we change the date, no times, you know. How many American people here? I want to know always. Johnny, Susan. Okay. Sanji tam ji jiang wo yore dan jing horo jam su chab da ka ding thong pa mi pe pan kong chen chin la ma tam pe shep je de chuma mi ba la go we rab de ke pe san za xin jab sun jiu ju sin je la pa ra zi de so nin je jin bo zu de ni me de su ne mo lam jin bo ngap ja da pe ka tang ha an sin de se me do dun ba tu je jin lang gu san sa ning do jin be ba ya le man de a lo de jin be ju gun de ni se zhu ba jin be chom de jiang de a lo za jin be xia la so ruan de nim te jin be ge da zhe ne je a ga jie jin be la ma ni ba ren ze zhe zhe jin be zhe be jian xin ze a re ba jin be xia la so ruan de te ba jin be ren jiao yong se se a sa jia jin be do bang de Tele jimbong kata nyambrada nyingom jimbi shabla sorwande shibzen kalan chirab jinkoro jian zebe dongdur zoling nabu jarwe dimba kone sanze ba gajurumbo jilang kusa ansa badin dorjin chawari kong chabda lama kalma ba jinkoro kong jin jungne si je bamjir yadanam jorma Tele Gunje si bo wan ju chu jong pe jin jam da la nam ju se je ke bon do do da mi tu je jong wa an ze ja wa kong je zi xin xi ge ji de de ba ga ri da ka ra wa pom jong je tian wa so zhe pe ge kam sum do wa la ma ge sa an sa pa din sa wa la ma rom bo je a da ge ji wo pe me de yo la ka den jin be ko ne ji song de 各松头见我这咋的说，用的三节公道你们那样，各的三节公为老本工，咱们老美小老说完的啊，到松头都拿去是，看到手机都给你听那，这些后面的就把刚说的。天天准备去见前辈见啊，新不人的把当见的些。那么呀，当把那也给当了当的边给准到的没给难当，多可就这给就上吧，他们这给的大概确定咯。马军说那跟他当年被心情他们去世界都很他打来这儿的，那么着顶级的话，那没把杨大把做不上去就恐怕人不去的，你今天讲他把啥？第一期的咱们去什么的你最近的事呢？你们是啷把教，你们国内事情查了。
O benevolent root guru, who is in essence all Buddhas of the past, present, and future, with great devotion I prostrate to you and go for refuge to you with my body, speech, and mind. Please grant your blessings to be cared for by you inseparably in this lifetime and all of my future lives. Clean ground of pure ethical discipline, beautified by mountains of unfathomable samadhi, illuminating all things with wisdom light of the sun and moon, Supreme Buddha who accomplishes the welfare of all, please bestow virtue and goodness. Your mandala expanding throughout space in knowledge of all things, beautiful thousandfold light striking the lands of trainees, fully illuminating all of Buddha's teachings in their entirety. With devotion I prostrate to the great jewel of the Kagyu. O glorious and precious root guru, please take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me in your great kindness. Please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind, equal to all Buddhas in qualities of realization, yet surpassing all Buddhas in kindness to me. I pray at the feet of my root guru, O protector. Please turn the minds of myself and all beings towards the Dharma. All you who have become disciples of the Sagatas, those gone to bliss throughout the billions of worlds of the 10 directions, all of you who wish to hear the Dharma raining down here and now, may you come here. Namo, in languages of devas, nagas, and yakshas, languages of kumbhandas and human beings, in the sounds of whatever beings exist, in every language I shall teach the Dharma. Please listen well with the motivation of bodhicitta, thinking all mother sentient beings equal to the extent of space must by all means attain unexcelled eternal bliss of perfect complete Buddhahood. To accomplish this, I shall listen carefully without distraction to the Mahayana teachings being given here and put them into practice.
Hola, da de la canji simbar sabe chune, teneka da kaps papa, ni nyami tapos la jinje ya ju ke ni lam chorin chin chwa. Da de be ji da ma ma tu de ne sin fia ins.
So we'll continue on with the instructions on the Precious Garland of the Supreme Path, composed by the incomparable Gampopa.
Da de la yang, da ngui ju ke chu de la ja, mun do ko chu de la. 가리 지도 맞춘 데를 주셔고 요리. 다때 아주 희야데 뺏기 머리. 가리 지도 바시게 요리. 가리 지도 삼바시게 요리. 아니 가리 지도 곰시게 요리. 곰세나 아니 내가 가리 용거 요리 있어야돼.
So as important as the main subject is, the preliminary stage is more important. So it's important for us to think about, why we are listening to these teachings, why we are studying them, what purpose are we contemplating them and meditating on them, and what is that result that we seek to achieve through this. So it's very important to think about what is our purpose in our intention with these teachings.
근데 인도자네 다텔라 맞추 지용 거 돈이 시바이나 로심지 탐제네 대완데 바당. 아니 동하면 돼 봐. 지바 차도 요리.
So in thinking about this, we contemplate that all living beings are the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering.
네도 자네 디 대화세야 되라야 내갑지게 대화당 타톡 대화 다 맥장 통통 찔러세암나 때나 다들 아주 삭지 풍봉아 삭지 왕보고 여도 줘봐 다당가랑 추 대화세야 돼 이제 동할지랑 공혼에 대대하들라 대화시는 맹다그 요리 대라 내갑고 대화지세 아니 대짱 그 맞춰 언제 자네 산지 그 추이나니 대짱게 이렇게 말이지 타르토 그 대화대 토고와이나 아니 나다 중가랑 주 줄에 옆에 차반 드시지 동할 때 째데 주 마타바이나 차반 드시지 동할 옆에 랭텔라 대시데니 치라는 동할 주 마치 용데 그리지 랭 대화 요나양 산인 전로고 유리지 다들 주랑 대화대 딴는 그 대화 주르도 동할지라 대화인 삼대 있잖아요 디 주도 야도 차반 드시지 동할 툭도 유리 주시 차반 드시지 동할 주랑 그 줄에 유바 대시 더 아니 주랑라 동할 주 마치 바디 용데 그리지 줌시 텔레티네 차반 드시지 동할 때딱 간드시 찌고 유리 간드시는 매발 땅고리 시도잖아요 람담베 추 토랑 냠니시네 추스야 돼그 책게 토네 유르주 땅네 어든지 지게 숨고 유리다.
So I'm thinking about happiness. There's temporary happiness and there's ultimate happiness. And that temporary happiness is the happiness that beings experience in their physical body, the enjoyment of objects of the senses. But in fact, it's temporary happiness, only a facsimile of happiness, which is the nature of suffering of change. And in Buddha's teachings, we get the explanation that until we sever the very root of pervasive conditioning, karmic conditioning, suffering of pervasive karmic conditioning, that we will continue to experience suffering. And so in the case of temporary happiness, we may have some happiness today, but tomorrow it can change, and it's connected to this suffering of pervasive karmic conditioning, keeps us bound in samsara. So it's important that we understand this and how we are bound in samsara by this suffering of pervasive karmic conditioning, and investigate how that could be eliminated entirely, because until we can overcome that, then we are still bound in suffering, and any happiness that we experience will only be temporary in the nature of suffering of change.
ati tarthok dewa thokgo ayena lam tambe chu ko tholo yong do wa ti nimbo de lam tambe chu chaban de ji je dong har se ya de zhe je go ayena tambe chu la na ma song ayena de bang thok yo ma ri si.
And it's really only in the teachings of Buddha that we get these instructions, or this explanation of the suffering of pervasive karmic conditioning, and the means to overcome it, the means to eliminate it.
Ho tin ri ja ta tin ri du cha ni jumsi telak ti ne ngarang chu mi jang ring bo lo sam no tang ne ta nang bu chu le shok se ya de lo ho ti si chim bo go da lo ho chim bo da mi jang ring bo chi lo sam no tang tu ni che nang bu chu de na ni thak pa chim bu chu le shu ni de la lo ho chim bo chi da mi jang ring bo chi lo sam no ta ni chi le se ke yo da.
So thus, in this context, we need a vast perspective. In the Buddha's teachings, we're called upon, especially in the Great Way, the Mahayana teachings, to have great courage and to have a very vast and far-reaching perspective on things.
Tini du cha ne ngarang chu na phya jun de ani pikin gi chu mo lang de de na ni nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi tham che ke chi de se ya chi de la le to thmi la ma ti pa ve pa ama te so ke ama gen go te so ke ya ma nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi tham chi se ne sik chi khala le ko do ma nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi se ya de ya bo chi sam lo tang wa yin na ti sik de pe ne ba chi mo le ya ha chen ne ba chi mo pe ma si salap chi mo nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi se de cha ne nga chu sam ma pu wa da chi sam yo len de ba da chi ngarang ge ma chang na ni ga de yong gu da ngarang gi chim chi dang ngarang de sang kho yok la phin thom mi la ma ti pa te na ngarang ge jar khap la phin thom mi la ma ti pa khanang ge chik de la nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi tha chi se ya chi ge chik chi dam bu khai na lem ko do wa o te chi ta ta da nga chu sam ma tang ko ri si de chu shu li kap se nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi tha chi ge chi de nge chu de shu gi ti chu de shu ne ngarang ge te nyam ni shi gi nyam ni se ne ti ge ba cha wan de ba te yang nang kha ta nyam pe sim chi tham chi ge chi de nge la lin to gi sam ju ni ge tho ni sam ba de jo wa ni ge tho ni chi gi sam ba o de chi sam ma tang ho si.
So in the words of the Dharma, we get this expression, for the sake of all mother sentient beings equal to space, and we all recite that in the young, old, and this is a very powerful thing to think about. It's inconceivable. It's practically inconceivable to think of all life throughout space, equal to space. So it means that we're not just thinking about our own family. We're not thinking about just the people of even our own country, but beings throughout space, and thinking that it's for their sake that I will enter into practice of these teachings, and it's for their sake that I will practice them, and whatever results come from them, I will dedicate that to them. And so these are such powerful words. They're something that's if you really think about it, it's practically inconceivable. Samkimi kyapa. Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. All that. 야, 다들은 아주 주친 예셔바들이 노아상바 주친 예셔바데 아니 주친 예셔바난데 양도 주주여서야 되다 말은 배진데 망했는 거이지.
So we've reached the 20th set on the teachings, the 10 perfect things.
레줌데라 이치바네요. 왕보 양도 왕보 타메 양도 따와이. 신앙의 추탐지 나와 동바 릭바 동바 송주 예를 똑바네. 왕보 링게 양도 따와이. 답자 답지 대바스 예미도 똑바네. 왕보 랍제 왕보 랍제 양도 따와이. mikpar chechila nepane wangbo thambe yang ta pa gombai sungju yi tingen jina nepane wangbo rengke yang ta pa gombai gomsa gomsi nyamni so yen meeting memikpa ngala nepane wangbo rapje yang ta pa gombai le jimde mekin devi yin soane wangbo thambe yang ta pa jubai chu thamje malam jimchu de jubane wangbo rengke yang ta pa jubai 강 찔러야 주반에 왕보 랍지 양답 주바이 단진다 뉴몬반 타다 지총 제제를 송안에 왕보 람등 타마 송거 양답 주다 이노 되네 양답 주죠 이노.
These are the 10 perfect things. Trusting in the results of actions is the perfect view for one of lesser capacity. Realizing that all external and internal dharmas are the four unities, appearance and emptiness, awareness and emptiness, is the perfect view for one of intermediate capacity. Realizing that the view, the viewer, and the realization are indivisible is the perfect view for one of the highest capacity. To abide one-pointedly on the object is the perfect meditation for one of lesser capacity. To abide in the samadhi of the four unities is the perfect meditation for one of intermediate capacity. To abide without concept in the indivisibility of meditator, and practice is the perfect meditation for one of highest capacity. Guarding the results of actions like the pupils of one's eyes is the perfect conduct for one of lesser capacity. Experiencing all dharmas as like dreams and illusions is the perfect conduct for one of intermediate capacity. Being without any conduct whatsoever is the perfect conduct for one of highest capacity. Lessening and pacifying all kleshas and the fixation on self is the perfect sign of progress for those of the highest, intermediate, or lesser capacity. Those are the 10 perfect things.
Hola, sota dege tamotela ani le jimdela yi chipane wangbo yangda wangbo tame yangda tawa yin stan di nangtene mara bangbo niba suba yiba ngaba tuba dumba jiba guba di gote tawa gomba chuba sumga thola ani wangbo rap wangbo ring wangbo tama sumde rembe yidama tambutela tawa ini nibatela gomba tamatela jubasine tagum jusumde tambo niba sumba yiba ngaba tuba dumba jiba goba ti goteke ta kandarja tagum jusumde wangbo rapdan ring ta tamasum ko thori jane masum ko doa.
So in this set, we get instructions on view, meditation, and conduct for those of beginning or lesser capacity, intermediate capacity, and great vast capacity. So the first three are view for lesser, middling, and great capacity. The second three are meditation for lesser, intermediate, and vast capacity. And the third set of three is conduct for those of lesser, intermediate, and advanced capacity. So this is the way that this is organized.
뭔가 저 따금 주섬데 계자지시나 지형고 토니 따와서야 돼 가리임바 당 곰바서야 돼 가리임바 주바서야 돼 가리임바 디시나 야보도.
So first of all, just in general, what do these three categories refer to? View, meditation, and action.
따와세야데 가레시티다네 따와세야데 곰 강이바데 곰 강이바데 무슨 밖에 마이진달라 마송나 빼나 마추 리모치 트거와이나 양거소라 탕칸다지 리모다지 트네 트거와이나 마이지그 장다데 메와이나 리모트 요구요 말 리모트 가레시데 리모트 곰다지 빼디나이 담보가랑 곰도 야보지 용고와 있는 따와도 야보지 원투야 돼. 따와 만나와지 원투 차도 따와 뒤토라 셈데 야용의 뒤토라 따와도 윤장해야 될 곰세가 요리. 따와 곰세야 돼. 따와 뜻이야 돼. 담보 곰 강인 바데 게 만시대. 근데 힌독 삼박이 이친이 봐. 셈라 될라 따와시. 대 윤장을 배 이게 셈야티 토는 로야 될라 곰바세.
So first of all, view is that upon which we are going to meditate. It's getting an idea of what we are to meditate upon. For instance, if we were going to draw a picture, or if we were going to paint a scroll painting in Thangka, we would need to know what it is that we're going to paint. We would need to know its dimensions and so on. Otherwise, we would not have any idea what we're going to paint. So in this way, the view is getting an idea of what it is that we're going to meditate upon. It's getting an idea. It's like, okay, so that is the object upon which I'm going to meditate.
댕tor 토드 짜와 심숨이와 오랑 토드 떼바셔야 되게 따와시게 요리 댕tor 토드 짜와셔야 되게 따와 델라 생고 토네 니시니네 델라 댕tor 토드 짜와 오랑 토드 떼바 댕tor 토드 짜 타직 토드 찌바 타직 토드 찌바 아니 댕tor 토드 짜와셔야 돼 근데 인도 잔데 따와 때 뺏기치 모리 따와 뭐 만나와지 하고야 돼.
So as Garab Dorje explains in the three lines that strike the point, with regards to the view, first of all, we get the nature of it, then we develop confidence, and then we become convinced. So in the first stage, we get an idea of, well, what is it? What is the nature? What is the entity of this upon which we're going to meditate? As that deepens, we develop a confidence that this is what it is. I understand it. And then finally, we develop a single-pointed conviction in that view, that which we are to meditate upon.
아니, 내가 나와다 공부하니까 생각토니 용두잖아요. 이 냠니 지tam세바 잠지 아니 생각 뉴몽바 차창들 아빠도 마빵도 있잖아요. 던주도 있잖아요. 생각 아빠 뉴몽 용조도 빵도 있잖아요. 아니 르그토니 주바 나그토니 깨자돼서 아니 란신게 몇개 주봉 거 추첨도 용수 줘봐 참아도 뒤값을 기와주 차기 좀지 간이세나 나와대 뉴몽 그 님보란 거고요. 나와대 뉴몽 님보를 뉴몽 빵도 있잖아요. 르그고니 소지가 요 말이 나그고니 준시가 요 말이 근데 인도 자네 당보 따와다 공부하니데 야보지 송송아이나 아니 르가가 삽주 용수 줘봐 야보 차노 그리시 매 야보 차그리 세야데 슈바시나 매 야보 차그리 세야데 좀지 가르송 거 요리시디 자네 뉴몽빵도 자네 생그 뉴몽 용수 줘봐데 고 담데 빵송 차디 자네 당보 나때 당보 송다
And it's not enough that all of this takes place in our mind. It also needs to translate into the way we act with our body, speech, and mind. And when we develop the view and meditation, then our conduct of body, speech, and mind will naturally become subdued and peaceful. It will be transformed. And the reason for that is that what we were meditating upon, that view is intended, it is a remedy to the afflictions of the mind, attachment, ignorance, and aversion. And so as those afflictions are eliminated from our mind through our view and our meditation, then our actions, conduct will naturally be transformed in these ways.
And the little going to thought you about and I'm going to judge you last about the ranking go down
physical actions of killing and verbal actions of lying and so on, these will naturally be cease.
You think I say now, don't look up to the muscle same law, some long it be chicken is about the long horn. Give out the Mugeva, you mong carena sort of same tumble some long horn and look up to the genie.
And that's because all of our actions, our physical actions, originate in our mind. It's because we have an intention that we engage in any verbal or physical action. So the intention is at the root of those actions.
Oh, the need to tell Guru Rinpoche, Tawan Nankalen, Tojang, Legend Axilish, somebody ships at your gories. Tawa Chitam Nankalen Tojang. Not on Bani to you, Siana, not Sajachi Binam Join Siana, not Pachi Binam Join Siana, not to toy, not you Pachi in Siana, Tindiki capture. Can it be lam the Senate you somebody? Look at you, but they down. Mark Kitcha, Nike Melon to Shitaki. Nike Melon to Shitaki Mato. Narang to me same gay, Koranga Tawa the Kavala level, Matu Hako you marry. Matu Karitin Jisapa to Yuri Citizane, Korang Yamin Tartopaji Chupa Yang Tapachi Rin Dukta Mando. Look up you, Mark Chulam Dang, look up you, Tony Hako. Look up you there, Legum de la Mangarawachi Korang. Our Nankal and Tojang Legum de Paxili Sugaris. The Sugaris, Chupa Yaboji Chakayuna. When they turn out Tawa Yaboji Towa in Ranjing, Legum de la Sonsini. Legum de la Sopatusukola, making the way the song to me. Or the Ranjing Yoguris, the young gore is only.
So as Guru Rinpoche Padmasambhava Baba said, even if as our view is as vast as space or as high as the sky, our conduct in regards to natural law of cause and effect must be as fine as powders, to observed to the finest degree. And so someone may say, oh, I have realized emptiness, I understand Mahamudra, I am a tantric practitioner, and it's difficult to know, what is really their internal realization. But by looking at their conduct, then we can know, because when they truly do have a profound understanding of the nature of reality, this will naturally translate into a very fine observance of natural law of karma. And so that's how we can infer, what is the nature of their internal realization by looking at their external actions.
Yeah, I think it. Legend de la Yikibana Wambo. Hame Yang Tapatawa is Legend de la Yikibade. Jikin be Yang Tapatawa security in the la. Jitangon in Jikin be Yang Tapatawa security. Legend de la Song Sene, Megate to Sukol and James Nunsine. There is a Jikin be Yang Tapatawa second one. The need to Janatella Wambo Tama Jikin be Yang Tapatawa security.
So in this first line, we get that trusting in the results of actions is the perfect view of one of lesser capacity. So this beginning capacity, what we could call the worldly view, is this conduct that is in accord with the law of karma. So we could say that it's for those of beginning scope as well as all.
남배 취시게도와 가장의 시인바 취시야 되는 육사케 남바 쥐탐바 요리시 되 만다와 쥐를 놓고 요리시 취시야 되는데 네 취시야 돼야 담배 취가랑 중이 뭐니 보고 취들 시게 요 말이 십지 취들 시게 요리 니나는 송도 스난 그 취탐지시 디 스난 그 취 나랑 주 몇개 요드 족 나베 요드 달라스 바족다 드로르 자당 스난 그 취 용수 좀 받대라 아니 나와다 동바다 바 동바송 요 예도 거리지. 나한테 가르친 거 요리시도 있잖니. 몇개 요도 좋기 나와이나 나동송 요. 대한다지. 몇개 요도 좋 나와다 냠데 동바데. 몇개 요도 좋게 가르친 거 요리. 제그 군족 그 요렇게 족 무보든 통거 요리. 이 족 통하다 냠데 된담dimbe 족 된담 오마디 족텔라 가래 요리시데 된담딤바 코랑라야 족텔라야 된담딤바 요리 족라 안신지 마더바데 가래리 된담딤바리 족 맥 ngoala 나와도 군접됨바 난거 요리 대다 냠데 족 나와다 냠데니 뽕베 지심바지 그 토네 그러는 뭐지 다티 롱도 마당는 득사리 다다 레베드 마카나나 대다 맥 요드 나와야 스낭 누군 무포 탐지고 너야 단지 미병 안라 중진 다 빠사 동사이 근데 차란로 jel라말라 소안데 어디페만 좀해라 소안데 데다 이제 요든 주와에 니모 동거 똑바지시야 무슨 지주로 있지마 준주와라서 옆에 축거를 빠란로 jel라말라 소안데 다테 가레수 그 요리시데다네 맥이 요드 족 나베 요드 드라나 요드 트카레 나오나야 나와다 냠데 데레 착바 미베토니 안보 맥을 람사지 난거리 온데 야본도 야본도 상바지 나와다 냠데 테근 드기 요리 디지라 야본도 상바티 지스 세 마나와세 도본도 상바티 지스 세 마나와세네 나와다 냠데 동바 송조 메기 요드조 나와다 냠데 동바데 송조로 로고리시 다테 송고 요리 디코테 망자 송에 상바
The long Jampa days, Yongmara. So secondly, realizing that all external and internal dharmas are the four unities, appearance and emptiness, awareness and emptiness, is the perfect view for one of intermediate capacity. So here the dharmas are not referring to Buddha's teachings, but as I mentioned before, there are 10 different meanings to the word dharma, and in this case, external and internal dharmas refers to phenomena. So it refers to all things, and so the quotations that Rinpoche referred to speak of all the forms that appear to our eyes, the sounds that that we hear, the smells that we smell, the tastes that we taste, the tactile objects that we touch, and then our internal realizations of or understandings of these, that all of these are a unity of relative and ultimate nature. So for instance, in the case of visual forms, what we see with our eyes is that relative nature, the relative truth of those visual forms. And at the same time, those forms have an ultimate nature, which is their lack of inherent existence. And so when we see a form, we can think, that's a nice form or that's an ugly form. But we don't engage in attachment and aversion to those because of understanding that at their ultimate level, they're empty, they lack inherent existence. And this goes for all of those objects of the senses and the internal states of mind.
Andinani Nawada Tomba Repasung Sayati, Yugutin Yongo, Yugutin in the Shitaki.
So there's this mention of unities of appearance and emptiness, awareness and emptiness, and so forth. I'll explain more about that a little later.
Any Sumbadeke, Labza, Tavi, Tebasum, Yemi the Topane, Wambo, Rabji Yang Tapatawai.
Third line says, realizing that the viewer, and the realization are indivisible is the perfect view for one of the highest capacity.
Namja Judo Naranzo Chusia de la Lamni Tony Rokuba de Hako, Tambonga to Tambo de la Lamni the Carreri Sidutane Sunam Chamtungal, Sunam Tony Lamjik Roya Jitang, Mimi Yik Tony Lamjik Roya Jitang. Any Jimmy Hako for that.
We need to understand that there are two paths to be pursued in the practice of Dharma. One we could call the path of merit, or the path that creates positive energy, and the other one, path to the understanding of emptiness, the unobservability of phenomena.
Lam Huma take Lam Tik de Latine, Sonam Lam Tik de Latine, Tapacham took a Lam Tik de Latine, any human lam, any Tatnamchi Java compound Topsek, you, Savun Dalamas on a Lam de Karikatungu Yurisitane, Sunam Lam de Latine, Saka Yuris. Sunam Lam de Tapacham took Sunam gave Sunam Lede, and the Lutang, Hatang. Around to the Kang, you bought it 9 sene. And tell a Yichi sene, and it tell a movie say, tell a Yichi sene, and then Royatella, Sunam Pavacham to Kalam security. The Lamte, these Yaji lem the Chani, the Lamte Kariting to Tigo Yurisitani, any Mimic lam, Samik lam, Sapami belam, the Tola Sundro Yuri.
So the procedure in Dharma is that we begin on the path of merit, creating positive energy with our physical actions and verbal actions and the conviction and the trust that we follow the path with. And as we get a bit more developed, progress on that, then we can enter into engage in the second of these paths, this path that understands the selflessness of phenomena. And so with the first, the relative path, then we plant the seeds for the realization, and then eventually we reach this path of understanding emptiness, which is a path of uncontaminated path.
When Tata Parsin to part in the cups, Yimba, Suchum, Zuba, Zundu, the Niga Katolan, Saki, Sami Nikatola, Zundu, made them wrong. Yimba, Suchum, Zuba, something, the Yede. Sunam Soga Saki Sola. The Ya. Any shirap you part of the Simba Tamade, Pasito Tamade, any shirap Korang Ya. The Pasi Yede make me the little Longana Yinsi. Hamaga part of the Simba, Shiraju part of the Simba, the Longa Tinginda. Ate Korani Vinci Roda Chinrogu Yuri. Tangaranzo Namja de Lugoni San Sarang Agagoni Kandunche, Anichi Debata Muguta Ichi Laso Basidiate, Saki Sunang Solan Roguri. Saki Sunang Solan Rogun Rogula Koranga, Yang Tela Yang, Dinani Sumbanaji, Tabza, Tabzi, Debasum Mepa Sondoa, De Karishaka Yuri Citizani, De Shirab the part of the sympathy on a shake Yuri. San Chanking, Ayang Mepa, San Sayur Kunchosoya Mepa, San Sajuk Satia Mepa, Mepa in a Kaya Dibe Madapa, Ayang Oni the Madapa. They Hakwaina, the Leshirab the part of the sympathy. That the name got it.
So thinking about in terms of the vehicle of the perfections, the paramitayana, where we practice generosity, morality, patience, perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. The first 5 of these relate to that path of merit, and the fourth one, perseverance, relates to both of the path of merit and the path of wisdom. But in general, those first perfections are like a blind person, and the sixth perfection of wisdom is like a guide with sight who can take those the blind person where they're going. Parchin Dambo Ditso Miglonwa.
Any you think I got a change now? I forget. I got him, but
So, okay. So, yes, so as we practice the relative practices relating to the path of merit, then eventually we come to this understanding, as is mentioned here in the line, that the view, the viewer, and we could say the viewing, these 3 spheres of the action are indivisible in that perfect view. So it would be the understanding, say in the case of making a prostration, that there's no object to whom one is prostrating. There's no one who is prostrating, and there's no act of prostrating. That all these 3 spheres of this action are empty, meaning they're not truly existent. So that if we look at them in their ultimate nature, they're unobservable. We can't find them. So it's this understanding that in the case of all of these actions, that they are indivisibly unfindable in their ultimate nature. They're free of true existence or actual real nature.
That's what I think. Tabzi, they basum song, and then I gom the shake yuri. Tabza, Tombani, Yurchi Tombani Tang, Tabzi Kazara Nitang, Teba Gom Jajimbake, Takanta Jati, Yurta Yuchin and a Gom Jali Kapsayant and the Sum Kotoni, some not down the day and the Be Matapa. Patangaran to Gom Kapso, Kayam Gom Ju Mebate, Gom Chod Juba in Song Yurava. The native and in Dinania, Marang to Munjin Sinayanti. Same Kotoni, on a train go Jabi. Ne Gom Jabi, Citizen Sunkatel Tankadwa. Ne Citizen Gom Janki. Gom Citizen Gom Jajite. Gom Jabi Citizen Gom Jabiba. This someday similar changing a topic Jing the Jane, Ne Gom Jabi Sambachik. They are Kayam Memekba. Oh, the digital
So in the line of the text, realizing that the view, the viewer, and the realization, or the viewed, the viewer, and the viewing, this relates to our meditation, what we're meditating upon. And so as we're meditating on shunyata, or selflessness, it's just understanding that which we are meditating upon has no independent true existence, that I, as a meditator, I'm not truly existent, that this action of meditating is not truly existent. So in the course of our meditation, it's something to be applied there. We think, oh, I'm going to meditate on emptiness. But then when we investigate it deeply and understand it deeply, then we see that, oh, there's really no one who is meditating on anything.
That's only Hibadeke, Mikpar Tsechik the Nepane, Wangbo Yang, Wangbo Tamayang Dabo Gombayis, then the Shine Chikula Shiki, Mikwala Tsechik. Yurg Mikwala, you think Sim, the Ni Tsechik, and this in the Nene. Around to that same nearly Tapsine, Wambo Tamakabs, and Bomik Daji, Metoina, and Angobon the Jia. And it is make a town, make it jut in the Shiba Patang, same the Patang, the Jane. Year meto on Tanka the Colas Bacan, making the yard, the Titola, Simca, naked dog. Anything, Mene, Kichil and Jodo, telling Joasi, never tell Nebasi. Oh, Dan drink my song, Josiate, Dan Rondo, you same thing, you Monsol and Rondo in the Jane. And it drink my song that the Josong something sinking the land is passing, Neban Juari Bas. Oh, the Nichik Tony, sim Mikpatsik, the tendency in the Gom Jardin Kit, any one boy young, one boy Tommy Young Double Gomba in Sondwa.
The next line, to abide one pointedly on the object is the perfect meditation for one of lesser capacity. So this refers to the meditation of shamatha, of calm abiding, in which one places the mind single-pointedly on an object, whether it's a flower or image of deity, placing one's focus on that object and keeping the continuum of one's object focus on that object. As we practice this, then that is the state of stillness, or the mind not moving from its object. But then at a certain point, the mind stirs, it moves away, and our mind notices that. And so, oh, my mind is moved away from the object. It's not resting on the object. This is not what I'm seeking to do here. I'm trying to keep my mind focused single-pointedly on this object. And so that there's that third factor there, which is the awareness of the mind having remained on the object or having moved from the object. And so see, oh, my mind is moved. And so with that awareness, bringing the mind back to the object. So at this initial stage of practicing shamatha, calm abiding meditation, we seek to let our mind rest single-pointedly on its object. Next line, to abide in the samadhi of the four unities is the perfect meditation for one of intermediate capacity.
That is four units, unity state. Nakatan Sambala de la Tanyayu. Did you get the email? Yes, today I sent to you.
You got this.
Okay. Tatila Sunju Yenes, Nadong Sunju, Dedong Sunju, Startong Sunju, Retong Sunju Yela, and Sunju Yes.
So these four unities, or these four unifications in Sanskrit, Yuganadas, literally unified pairs, are union of appearance and emptiness, union of bliss and emptiness, union of clarity and emptiness, and union of pure awareness and emptiness.
Tila na tong sungjuk siata de tong sungjuk na tong nang de sar rik siate ke te ke kariting ke yuri sidi tsane ngaranzo mambo chi ke gom jatu chiang mewan da chi korang emptiness sekandwa empty sekandwa inchi ke empty siate ko kalai na empty ko chokorwa tongba siate khamba tongba polba tongba tongba siate di tongba siate tela koya mari 아주 참잖아 그 단위 그 책들라 뺀 니바 침보지 고주 침보지 요대와리 근데 이 있잖아요 똥바스야 되라 타마들라 니스야 돼 다도 요거도 똥바 니스야 돼 니그 다도 그 가래 연구 요리 시디잖아요 애닌 디나니 데 능, 데, 쌀릭 세야디 이야되게 똥바들 지에 탑네 내다 맞아와지 거랑 어떤데 지고고 요리다.
So the word in Tibetan Tompa Nyi, translated into English, is emptiness. The English word emptiness can, of course, refer to many different kinds of things, like an empty room or an empty vessel, but that's not what's meant by the word here. The word in Tibetan Tompa means empty, and then Tompa Nyi, just that emptiness, or that empty, or emptiness as it's translated. The words in Tibetan have deep impact and are very particular in their meaning. And in this case, what it means is that this selfless nature, or this unfindability is in union with appearance, bliss, clarity, and the pure awareness. So it's not an emptiness which is just sort of a nothingness, but it's something to be understood that is the deepest nature, the ultimate nature of appearances, of bliss, of clarity of the mind, of the pure awareness of the Rigpa.
Tambala. Shirana te yue.
Karma chik denana ne deb shaksala lento.
Karma chik tha katsendo kore.
Karma cheka.
Any tambo nekap chik kalechida. Nekap chila kalechida. Dina na yorida. Dina na pesi wochi. Churate lintupsanena tisigo a tambo teche any nibatela. Tatela sarkada che kanji yogo city chane sarkate katange telopa sakin ganga menani. Zungzi kunen de na tabajarboyi. Yunga mina gombajarboyi. Sacho mina cubajarboyi. Redo mina never want to church. Tata gom chu something dinani tawata gomba chubas chasa sugodoa. Tin to Chani, Tanguni Tawa the Karedi saying to Chani. Dinane wambo rauka tawa, wambo drink tawa, wambo tamatawa, wambo rauka gom, wambo drink gom, wambo tamagom, wambo rauka chupa, wambo drink chupa, wambo tamachupa sine. Tagom chusum the wambo rembre tasum the jamdo. And dinatini, Muni kita korang, Muni Garantola Goyaka wambo rambre tas, Sameke, Kiongo Tony, Tagom chusum the Karedi city Chani, Zungzi Kulen dena. Tabajarboris. Yunga minas, Tawate ngon true ne, Tawate ngon true Sadikaja, Tawate taught ne, any Lunagi Yunga miba. Tela, because teaching the tene, Gom Sitawaina, any te Gomba Jarbori, Gomba Yashu the Teres. Any tell a Sator minas only. Ah, Cuba Yang Tabate, Chod Cubade, Jubal and Desomale Shakiri. Cuba Kayam Mipa. Cuba Mena, Satol Deswine, Satol Desia de Tawa the Koran tap the tune, Tawa the Tarsinda, Chu the Zane, Cuba Subsi Yonsu Joba, Tagum Chusum Tama de Takarsi Chigdun Dune, the Nichis also Waina, and it take Satol Mina, Cuba Jaboins. And in Tartok Pela, Drevetela, and Redo me but you reach. Ya Sanje Topala Reva, Mangi Sono Tomala Toba. Nga Zang the Reva, Ngang in the Toba. All that Kayam Meva to the Jig. That's younger you reach in Drevetela. What in the Sondo that they pay about you.
In the Gangama Mahamudra instructions of Tilopa, we get statements that refer to these, the view, meditation, and action in general. Here we had them related to, each of those related to initial, intermediate, and advanced scope of practice. What Tilopa said in those instructions was that if we are beyond all subject-object duality, it is the king of views. If we have no distraction, it is the king of meditations. If we exert no effort, it is the king of action. If we lack hopes and fears, the fruit will manifest. So, in understanding that absence of subject-object duality in our meditation, this object of the meditation is the king of the views. And if we can remain undistracted upon that, without any distraction at all, that's the best of meditation. And in the case that we have deeply understood this in our conduct and understand that there is no one who is doing anything in terms of the three spheres of all actions, then there's no effort that's being exerted. That's the king of actions. And if we are absent of hopes and fears, I hope I get better, or I'm afraid I'm going to get worse, or I hope I'll attain enlightenment, and hope I don't go to hell, and so on. When these kinds of thoughts are absent, then the result will be realized.
No one nam je tongba manga jing, no ya ran yin yen de tongba o. Tati tsikpe tatangani gang tene mara sungju yes ya de she de ya de tate de chasang tinan ko do.
In reference to these four unifications, then Shabkar Sogru Rangdro said, the emptiness of one's mind does not obstruct appearances, and within emptiness, ungrasped appearances shine forth. Appearances do not obstruct emptiness, as appearances themselves are primordially empty by nature.
Anaji shiram himbo nani, zuk tombao, tomba ni zuk so, le jang tomba ni ji mai no, tomba ni le jang zuk ji mai no, se aji.
And in the Heart Sutra, we get those words, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. All of these relating to these unifications.
Oh, the Nirisha, that they get a pachete second to Jessica, ni Tupate. Gomsa Gomsi, Yamni, some ye meet your mimic Pangala, Nepane, one board up to Yantapa Gombai. Who tell you where?
That chippa rebe, then the chippa let somebody.
Gom. Gomsa Gomsi, Yamni, low.
Then to abide without concept in the indivisibility of meditator, and practice is the perfect meditation for one of the highest capacity.
That is Mambun Jama was that is called Gang Tawati Tony, Tabza, Tabzi, Tepa Sundang, Yotini Sumbatinantini, Tabza, Tabzi, Tepa Sum, ye meet the Topate, one boy around Tawa in Siatida, 다들 죽바 나한테 검사 검지 냠니 좀 예미지 다들 직발이죠 그럼.
So there's not need to say much more about this. This sixth one is really very similar to the third one, where we looked at the view, the viewer, and the viewing as indivisible, as mutually selfless in their nature. Here, in the case of the meditator, it's the same thing. The meditator, meditated, and the meditation, all three of these being empty of true existence, being unfindable under their ultimate analysis.
So, only Dhamma ke le jimde making David in so manner, one bo tamayang of Jubai.
And guarding the results of actions like the pupils of one's eyes is the perfect conduct for one of lesser capacity.
That they come to ship at the Achipari, le jimde la yichibana, le jimde la yichimana, one bo tamayang of Tawa in Sidwa, Dina Tambotilla. Dina ni le jimde la making David in so one bo tamayang of Juba in Sidbatilla. A Tawa the Juba ni told Chibari Mato, the Undo Sati Juba Chatisha.
So whereas the first one, trusting in the results of actions is the perfect view for one of less capacity, related to view, this seventh one is really the same sense in the case of the conduct. To be
Mulam Jimmy to Jubana, one bone drink young of Jubai. That they Chutam Mulam the Jimmy to the Gang Tinimara, lay Jim de making David the Sungudwa. They get one but Tamala Yaki. These are same nature the young Toro Swaina, and it Chutam making David the Somagua, Mulam the Jumanaji. Around the Dagong. Ni de kapsa malana ji ta ngarang chola de dok chowa kandisi yogo yo na ya de nasu ko malana ji da juma na ji truba na ji bacha na ji ani o medin ba tinde chi ke ngalan ro thwa yi na de wang bon ding yang da bu ju ba yin so go yori.
And then the next line, experiencing all of dharmas is like dreams and illusions, is the perfect conduct for one of intermediate capacity. As we progress from that conviction in the natural law of cause and effect and act accordingly, then we come to understand the illusory nature of all things, and how they are like illusions, like the dreams, like echoes, and our awareness of what it is that we're observing in terms of karmic cause and effect becomes more profound.
Guba de kan chela yang ma ju pa na wang bo rab ji yang da bu ju ba yin. Ta ti sing ne che den toru song ne gom jam de kap se sing ne che den toru song de cha ne ju ba de la yang kan chela yang ma ju ba si ta de ka sun de we ya bu jin sa si ba sho song yu wa. Ta kan chela yang ma ju ba, kan chela yang ma gom ba, kan chela yang ma ta wa, ta gom ju song kan yang me wa. Me si ya de当你没得话就嘛的，长嘛的辛苦我出早茶的站呢，大话谁的啊没话，广巴谁的啊没话，你酒吧谁的没话，没谁的，俺就大大王八当包，来就的了没跟这位就是送子，公子，搭子，就是这多啊，这长嘛没话，跟着接了可以，我就讲没谁个多啊，讲没谁的。곰장이 매 대화지 말이 곰지 요새 참아도 생각 올라 저 차인데 자네 아니 딜레 로스 줘봤지 왕보 당보당 왕보 타마당 왕보 링기 세와 나 이지 요 말이 있어요.
And being without any conduct whatsoever is the perfect conduct for one of the highest capacity. So as one's understanding of the view, meditation, and conduct develops, then come to understand this absence of the three spheres in all of them, that there's no practitioner, there's nothing practiced, there's no practicing, there's no viewer, there's nothing viewed, there's no viewing, and so on. It doesn't mean that these things do not exist at all. It means that their nature is complete and perfected in mind, that their nature is complete in the entity of consciousness. And so as we come to understand this, then we come to understand that there is no one who's hoping for anything. There's no one who's trying to avoid something. So it becomes this understanding of the ultimate unfindability of any conduct or action.
Ata jeba da guba sabde yabu chitada dumba te ke them tambo na yi se de dumba te gyolati ne ani jeba de yang tin de le yong atang dumba te ke tabla ti ne jeba de tabsong le yong atang dumba te me ne jeba de manjong wa de jeba de me ne gowa de manjong wa tina ne le jim de me kin de we yin de so wa na wang bo yang tham yang da bu ju ba yi ngarang zo tata wangbo tamasena le tangbo paindi chani le jimde le mekin trevishin to sonne di thola tawa di thola gomba di thola juba takom chusumde manje khorang di thola ro ani sem ko thoni te ti chine chen thola songdu chani ani chutamji malam juma ta to wate sem ko thoni to wa ina lu nga ka sabchu ku juba te ti na yin yong ro ko yuri ani te te chi lep chadu ini kanchele yang mujuba si tatok tila tada ngarang zum malam de juma na ji takadwa wambon ring de thama de ke di tubdu ngoma kan deven de tila kanchele yang mujuba macha chami machu chumi gomba mi juba mi tawa mi tagom chu so kaya mewa mi se ate tambo niba na ji wambo thama da wambo ring sewa na ji 근데 매 대와 생군고 돌로 저 차와지 다 랩사들 랩 차유 당가 참아 디값은 상지에 차유 상지제 곰팡라 상지에 차리 값은 데라 다와스야지다 데라 곰바스야지라 데는 데시시야데 데는 데미시세요 말 참아 생군하는 조 차리 만통와는 통은 초도 줘봐 이노 송유와
So if we look at these, we see the progression in each case, and how, for instance, with the conduct, with that first level of conduct of guarding one's actions, like one's eyeballs, is essential for then moving on to the next level, intermediate level of conduct, where one understands phenomena to be like dreams and illusions, which is then indispensable to moving on to the highest level of the understanding that there is no one acting, doing anything. So each one is the step to the next one. Without the previous one, the next one can't arise. And when we arrive at that last one, then it's like in that stage of Mahamudra meditation where we say no meditation, but there's a stage of no meditation, where it understands that there is no one doing any meditation, or as Buddha said, that the supreme seeing is non-seeing. So in each of these cases, we come to understand that natural law of karmic cause and effect, that the conduct of how we act, that all of these types of unification, they're all sealed by this unfindability, by this ultimate nature of no true existence, until all of it is discovered to be perfected in the nature of the mind.
I want to tell you the one story. I don't want to say the name, the person. I meet the one guy, I think 2 years ago, in this area, the Western people. He said, I have so many teachers. He counted all the teachers like the 16th Gampopa, the Rinpoche, Tengon Chinze, His Holiness Dalai Lama, and many. I never meet the like the 16th Gampopa. He's very lucky to find. He see that. He said, I got the Dzogchen, I got Muhammad, all the teachings. I asked him, how's your meditation right now? What are you doing right now, today? Oh, my Dzogchen meditation, my Muhammad meditation, he used the words like these things. He said, oh, like the sky, things that he said to me. He's almost like the normal meditation. He's talking that maybe he's the very same the level like the Guru Pema Sambhava. He said he only talked with me. He said, "Taku karel tiko ngalaku te lapkandwa, mateke. Korang ketawa te hajang tombojil lebdi yusta. Churala mato sukala hienyong mesi. Tawa te pe masin tombojil lebdi yusi. Kongune tane ke pachi korang sangye chayu nodo tani shekada. Sangye chayu wa ina jubala tane sangye doa mado ngachu paha kori mado korang ka ngachu chu laugo mari. Tawa nangpalen toswa ina lejumde baksile shipseya de ranhin ki chano kori yisi. Guru Rinpoche. Korang ngune sangye chayu na dada korang ka sabzi lesamna ku lekate Hoa cái lẽ cả nghiêm dung thumong mai ba nghiêm dung chung sang chỉ duyệt là mấy lẽ cái những đăng chín đó khó lẽ cả chẳng lẽ này ta lẽ cả tới chỉ lẽ người xuống cái thông được cái rồi thông cái lẽ rồi khó lẽ cái đó nên mấy chỉ cái người tao tới chỉ thông bộ cha xong xem nó suy nghĩ chỉ cái tao ăn thông bộ cha xong vậy nó chú bắt được hai cái cái làm được cái ta nên chỉ cái sang chỉ là mấy chỉ nó khó ăn tới chỉ là để cái mà đấy khó However, then the ritual Degamari. If you Milarepa Najin, Julam Rajin got the child of you. Then the Indutani around so Namja Junder. Tawa the Juba Nide, Tawa Tola, Juba Mashowachi Tang, Juba Sony, Tawa Mashowachi. Tapu the Chanya Baji Goris, Guru Rinpoche. Tawa Katsi, Tawan Tombo Chanayang. Juba the Ranjin, the Kansina Tawa Nekon the Sheba, Tawa de Tombani, Tomba de Numong Nimbol and Rokuri. Numong Tama the Pangsawaina, Churang the Hoalang in Yongjia, Simchin and Ninjia. Ranji Lunga Juba Ranji Koran Juran Rokuri. Tawa Tombato Sia, the Kansa Koran Kanikita Shiela, Kijamari. Matu slow Koran Juba Kari Chicken do. Koran keja hiedang kare chikido. Koran keja hiedang tang, koran ke jubate, hoan dele mande baji. She, tawa de nangpale tumboji yu si dewaina, ichi kale kabori. Hodate ngen tushi daji.
So this person was putting on airs of having very, high realizations of the great perfection and Ma Mudra. But if you really examined him in light of the kinds of things we're talking about here, like I was saying, if your view is correct, then it will be that which acts as a remedy to the delusions, and then you will not be acting the affliction. So it's hard to see what person's inner realization is, but by looking at their actions, then you can infer what they are. And if someone truly has these kinds of realizations, then their conduct will naturally be transformed in many ways. For instance, they'll have great renunciation of worldly activities like Milarepa and going, renouncing the world, and their actions will be tremendously transformed. This person's actions were not, transformed in that way. He was involved, in mundane affairs, So it seemed to me that it was quite a disingenuous sort of claim to make.
강가 또 추바 살바트서 잡사 마세바 이나 근데 추바 주마스네한다 아와 마도나야 또데 용동도 상근데 딱 추바 주마스네한다 가르세고 진 드라마인데 따와다 추바니도 만총리 베베치 초나나야 요리 아니 락바드는 소베치 초나나 지망은 로고도 와
Gonta Rinpoche, the Yankee Sonam. I'm a Chikjepa, the Dandan Benson. So what Rinpoche is saying that that we need to be able to maintain both our conduct and our view. That that this is something that Guru Padmasambhava said, that in our conduct we can't lose our view. And in our view, we can't lose our conduct. So they need to be both sustained, mutually.
베베치 초나나 요리 드라만다 나치치 인세 나학바 나치치 상하 도치치 드라만다 시데니데 주바데 멀 장는 많던데리던데 말초는 멀은 튀은건도 안면도 힘바시고 말이 메기 쭈뽕 그 추춤 메기 쭈뽕 그 추춤때 아주 야마나이다 킬로나이 코랑 잘라진 거 보자고는 되게 속기자 시게 킬로 가져오나 잘라도 뒤는 야나 야마데 가서 기차다가 야마지야다 쩐도 야마지야도 세야 그쵸 기차시게 맞은 거 같이 요 말와 베티나신 아랑도 추바체다 딤바치 작은 도와 메도때 메게 추뽕 그 추tum다 레 좀제당 직팀pe 양다 뭐 따와듯이 꼴라 십차 연구도 하면도 디테닝 아주 하고요 디테닝 갈들이 몇게 나 따완 통보인 지지 메메시 그 베치 소나나 요리데 다다 소발에 니마레 얘기도 고 지망을 되는 통고도 매. 그래서 그걸 잡잡시야도 개침버린도 와시.
So we really need to be careful of not telling big lies about our understanding of our realizations, to not exaggerate what we know. That's a very serious negative karma, and I tend to see this more and more in the Westerners that I encounter. So
also
when you talk like that, it's like you're kind of divorcing yourself from society. I'm so exalted, and there is this explanation in Dharma that we want to act in harmony with things, act in accordance with society. But this doesn't mean just to act like everyone else. What it means is to bring our actions in accord with the natural law of cause and effect, to look at our actions in terms of whether we're breaking the 10 non-virtues or observing the 10 virtues. And this can be really like our scale to measure, how we're really progressing on the path of reacting in accordance with natural law of cause and effect.
Also, 다디 타마데기 주바데기니 다데기 드마도 야완다치리 야 차마데기 따금 주성고 든 차마 주바데기 마드고 노아 타마데기 단지당 뮤몽반 타다 제총 제일로 송하나 왕보 랍ring 타마숨제 양답 주다 예노 다디 측디 빼야 보지도.
So in the 10th line here, we get a summary of what is to be sought at all the levels. Lessening and pacifying all the kleshas and the fixation on a self is the perfect sign of progress for those of the highest, intermediate, or lesser capacity. That's a very wonderful summation of this, that, to see that our afflictions of the mind and self-grasping ignorance are being lessened and eliminated through practice.
그래서 다들 연구요리 그런 추세잖아요. 추코랑시아데게 맹데 달라고거리시도 추세야데 심지주 다지지라 고고 있잖니. 추 넘버 따바지 주랑 그 세요와이나 다다 공도 해봐나니 따와 넘버 따바지 원추 고바 넘버 따바지 그 윤장 아니 주바 넘버 따바지 그 람도 송는데 세요와이나 추랑은데 만드나야 라이게 단지 라이게 신도고요 뇨mom바 라이게 제총는도고요 생라 대와 생라 가와 생라 또와 제치는 도고요 사람과 parche 담게 띠나니 서게 요리 사람과 또po 용tin 담게 라인 그 공도 코님 님마레지도 공라 그렇게 요리 있어.
So this is the kind of transformation that is really fundamental to all of Dharma practice. And if we are really practicing in a correct way, with the correct view, meditation, and conduct, then even if we don't want it, these afflictions of the mind will diminish and be eliminated, and we'll experience more and more happiness and peace and so on.
그래서 다들한테는 참자기 인터넷 양답 주주의 노시들한 참자요.
So these are the 10 perfect things. We'll stop here for today. So if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask, we could have those.
Musidestele musenga tuachik pyoyola kasi muchege ngonsu tongbanyi ki chudu chukchi bachin bayo di kabla tawa seya di tongbanyi re sona song muchecho ani tharin dila tagum chusum la tawa di ani kandisina kandishay Goodinche.
Venerable
Tomo was asking about the 11th set, where there was explanation that the view is emptiness, and how does that apply here in this set?
Awasiyati tang gombasiyati nila chitang thoni tatangé 공도 해봐나 이제 바와게 몬 추네 곰베 준자야 지당 지용고 돈이 된들이다 양 카시 옹바니 세야데 따와라 고야 되요 콘 데브그 맹 줄라다시네 코란 데시게 요란 데브그 맹 줄라다시드자네 코랑 라마 체다 딘바 투지지 라마 투지지 된데지게 아니 동반이 코란 랍상도 원초 송아이나 대값을 따왕 원초 소리 대값을 코란 공고 토라인 로야게 공고 람나다 되더니 심송아리고 하고 송아 따와시야 돼.
So this is the general explanation, that the view is emptiness, and then sustaining attention to that is meditation. And so really what that's a case of is giving the name of the result to the cause. So the resultant understanding of emptiness is being given to the cause, which is that being introduced to the view. And in the case of a very kind, highly realized guru, they may be able to bring some disciples to the unadulterated view of the unfindability of emptiness, immediately introduced to the disciple to that. But otherwise, there would be stages leading up to that. But in general, that is the case. That what is being introduced is this this unfindable nature, the selflessness. But in terms of whether it's actually realized at that causal stage, it's a matter of the result that is going to be realized being given to that cause at that stage of creating the causes for it.
cái tang tawa tang chúng ta chỉ là cái tawa tang đông ba ni xia tang tawa tang thì sự cố de chúng ta cái cái sự chú cái的这些作用的话，这里的话tawa xia的，这chú cái
So this word,
第tawa的要不就穷松啊伊呢，你第tawa的了东ba ni xia的名的了当然这个有，tawa的第那拍下来个记的了东ba ni xia，东ba ni我们就讲的样子呀的了，我们是个有的真的。뭐 따와대 건 줘야 돼. 좀 타게 주겠지. 좀 더나니 되는 소도.
So this kind of language of being introduced to emptiness and then sustaining attention to it in meditation is the kind of terminology that we find in the tenet systems, the philosophical tenet systems that are taught in Buddhism. That there. So it's that terminology comes from there.
Rinpoche chik kanti chik shwe tu la. Ani tanda Rinpoche sungju shi sungba nang tong, de tong, se tong, ri tong, shi ge sungju shi sungga tong tong di, tong pa nyi ge tong di ta chik pa ina kari ina.
Ye de tong ba ni de ji ba de se.
La won la. Tong di, tong pa nyi de, tong pa nyi de sung.
Tong ba ni de.那东西啊，听那里他蛮不一样的，有的有新鲜的这个有的哇，有的东巴你的有几处的饮食新鲜的有的。本来我让就讲家里搞是看样门都上班去个，那他们大家，家那还想啦，就像就的啊，听你人家听了都个有的，德西啊的当，瑞西啊的当，萨西啊的当，德萨德东瑞东萨东。năng thì gì thế anh mẹ thì cha này thì gì thế mẹ vậy na gom se à thế này chỉ số đó có vòng bị phá gốc cả chăm chỉ là ni xem này cái chỉ là cái xem dewa à thì gom thế anh thằng rô la số bắt ta chवा tăng để mong ta để sự cố thế à ya gương cái dawa xem thế là sao là cảm được cái sự kia thì cái gì sẽ有嘛的 그런 저 이제 대대기요. 왜 디나이 차놓고요. 대근에 그거 말이 있어요. 야나 하신 거 나왔더라. 아주 까말라시라가 파곰 주야 돼. 디 동바 이제 되게 예 마타를 되잖아. 아니 디 사차도 매리지. 대차도 매리지. 그리고 사차 생각 오라. 때문에 되잖아. 중차대 연구 요리 소고요.
So the question was about whether in the case of these four unifications, the unification of appearance and emptiness, clarity and emptiness, and so on, whether that empty refers to the same emptiness that we're speaking of, and Rinpoche said yes, and this also relates to the debate that occurred between Hashang and Kamalashila, where Hashang was promoting this idea that emptiness simply meant remaining in nothingness, which really amounted to sort of cutting off all the avenues of consciousness, not looking at anything, not listening to anything, and so on, not thinking of anything. So, but more like, what an animal might do by just sort of hiding their head in the sand, and not really what is meant by this understanding of emptiness here, rather being a seal of the ultimate nature, which is non-dual with the relative nature of those things.
Any today in data, purchase in the inside. Last one, any today in that.
Panden tsawe lama rinpoche dagi chiworo peme deshul katin chimbe kone jesone kuson tuke ngotu tse tu so Om sote ramjai kyamne gyatsu chinla tang denye tende luwa mebedu kebara chime tseye lazo ge tsewa ishe chingchen tendirebu kebe chenle karke kama pe kasu donga chazo mengaju Ome sewe lamda nyamdo ki yunden tseka getere shakdes Sansum doje rangam su le kwara tenje longdo dambej Shiju tusam gombe dude yesa te gembe chinle tachi sho Pande lame nambara dharba la giji samya lota mikesh Chinze le kwara thongwe mugu ki lame chinla simla jupar sho Kewa kundu yangda lama tang jime chuki pela longchuchi Sata lamki yunde rabzo ne pade lame koma nyuto sho
O glorious and precious Guru, please take seat of lotus at my crown, caring for me in your great kindness. Please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind. Om Swasti, may the blessings of infinite seas of our places of refuge, the force of the two truths' infallible interdependence, and especially the hosts of deities of immortal well-being, now rain down the magnificent splendor of their wisdom and power of longevity. The Lord of the dance of all victors' enlightened activity is Karmapa, your unquenchable thirst for the inner essence of his traditions, doctrines, of discourses, tantras, great seal, great perfections, and fifth instructions, has brought the qualities of signs on the spiritual path, your experience and realization, to their full flower. May your life be firm. May the wisdom mysteries of your body, speech, and mind be as perfectly firm as a Vajra's own immutable elements. May your gatherings of disciples who study and practice the sacred teachings of scripture and realization by listening, contemplation, and meditation cover the earth. May your activity reach its ultimate consummation. May I never for an instant develop wrong views of the glorious Guru's life and deeds, but with devotion seeing all they do as excellent, may the Guru's blessings enter my mind. In all lives, may I never be parted from qualified Gurus, enjoy glory of Dharma, and by perfecting all qualities of the paths and stages, quickly attain the state of the glorious Guru.
Daso namje chetan tenpaye, chitara sambayi vyendra padan, nedon kiso bade jibenzo, nevara shivara sinje alabda so. Sancho sincho rumbochi, maji pana jijuraji, Jipa nyamba mi ba ya gong ne gong den pe wa all so. Lasso samba cutting che samba tharsi any the Koranchola Kichachi Yana. If you have this book, you can read today the page 28, verse 17th. Nishi Nang Nina, Tawayi, Mayi Ringo Chana, Gombayi, Kansha Garden Machi, Chubayi, Zangi Redo Mipan, Drevayi, Kane Tagum Chupa, Mengand, Gami Nyamsulana, Tajin. Yugatini, Mapchi Tegarjapas, Linewa, Nua Jud Meba, Salewa, Retong Nua, Rikiwa, Kansha Londe Judar Jinewa, Sari Yetong Zimi, Yerewa, Nyamyon Nangishana, Tarji. The Tina Dinamara, these are Sarkachindo, the verbs 17.
Verse 70 and 71 relate to this subject and very clear. Rinpoche's own composition, the excellent path of freedom, jewel ornament of liberation in brief. Verses 70 and 71 say, that discovered and definitive knowledge is the view. Cultivating pure awareness without distraction is meditation. Not rejecting, not approving, not altering whatever appears is conduct. Being beyond hope and fear is the result. Practicing these important precepts of view, meditation, and action is an ornament of liberation. Leaving as it is, unaltered, is peaceful. Experience inexpressible is vividly clear. Direct experience of awareness emptiness is wide awake. Whatever appears is beyond intellect, free of fabrications, naked, primordially pure, clear awareness, free of grasping, pristine. If this appears in your experience, that is an ornament of liberation.
Would you say Samba? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Pujiche.